Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Omega Files. I'm your host, Dr. Freedom, and tonight we're going to discuss yet another pick three. That's right. We've decided to do some more Doctor Who related material because we've got quite a ways to go before the new series starts. And it's just been too damn long, really, since we had a few podcasts that went, into Doctor Who related material. And I decided, let's have a little fun. Let's do a little speculation. Let's do a little own creativity, a little exercise and imagination. And one of the things that keeps coming up is, the fact that we haven't really had a major historical episode, unless since, like, say, maybe I think it was Black Orchid. But then there's also been ones that mix little things here and there with other historical figures. Now, as we all know, the Doctor's met quite a few historical, figures and been to quite a few historical eras and events. But let's, what if we delve in a little bit more? Let's visit some other things maybe the show hasn't covered, or maybe go back into something the show already has. So that's why I told everybody to pick 3 historical events or eras that you would like to see, the Doctor interact in. All right, so let's start at the bottom again this time. Let's start with Elijah. Go ahead and tell us what your 3 are. Go on. Got it.
Ooh, first again. My top one is the Wright brothers. I think that would make an interesting episode. And then I have the Founding Fathers. Doctor meets the Founding Fathers. And then one, because Titanic has kind of been done in different variations, I was thinking about maybe the Britannic. But the spin on that is one of the Doctor's companions ends up in one of the lifeboats, and one of those lifeboats gets sucked really close to propellers, and there's nothing the Doctor can do. And then for fun, I have Robert Fulton Barr. That would be 1892, the creator of Iron Brew.
Okay, there you go. A historical event that many remember in Scotland. Oh, all right. Lady Nia, go on ahead.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm mostly going to stick with mostly the Roman or Greece empires, maybe a little Norse, because one of my pick 3 is actually, I know possibly the gods are not real, but I honestly think, well, what if the gods were actually aliens? You never know. Humans are actually worshiping aliens and they don't even know it. So I was thinking that maybe the Doctor, let it be 13th Doctor or whichever Doctor that comes forward, could be Loki. You never know. So I said, what if he went to the lands of the Norse gods? Don't ask me where it is. I forget all that. I'm not really familiar with Norse.
No way.
Thank you. What if he went there, or she went there, and ran into Thor, and Thor said, Loki, you have returned. Something like that. Then the next one I have is we're going back to Greece. Well, I thought of a myth. Thought of a few myths would come into play. Like, what if, was it Greece or Rome I'm going to stick to now? So one of the myths was, I think it was Icarus. Was it Icarus? He flew too close to the sun?
Yes.
Right? And I was thinking of, what if the Doctor had something to play into that? Or what if he arrived at that moment where he had to make that happen for history to work? Like, what if something happened that said, oh, look, I'm not going to let Icarus get that close, or he's not going to make the wings to get too close to the sun.
The mythology of that is that him and his father escaped from prison, and his father made it a safety. But Icarus went too high to the sun and down. That's the myth of that story.
Okay. Well, what if the Doctor helped in that sense, and that happened, and it had to happen that way? That would be interesting. And my last one, we're still back in these times, is what if the Doctor met a young Julius Caesar? Maybe he gave him some pointers. Maybe something simple, like maybe he didn't have enough for food, or maybe he was lost or something, and he pointed him in the right direction, something simple like that. Or what if he was his teacher? Something along those lines. Okay?
Okay. Beware the Ides of March. But look at the bright side. They're going to stab you in the back, but you're going to make a really damn good salad. All right. Let's move on over to Connor.
I think my first choice was inspired by the fact that it's going to be a woman doctor. So I thought the Doctor meets Margaret Thatcher. I think that would be a really good point, because obviously she was the first British Prime Minister that was a woman. So it's sort of like that turning point in history that could then be matched with the fact that within the show's context, the show's also sort of reached a turning point. The second one was the space race, which hasn't actually been covered in its actual form. Like Neil Armstrong hasn't appeared in Doctor Who. John F. Kennedy hasn't appeared in Doctor Who. The Russians haven't. That whole Apollo 11 sort of scenario would be a good episode. It is rather bizarre that that's never been covered before, actually, because it's the most sci-fi thing of the past 100 years, I think. And then my third one is actually a tied thing, because I couldn't decipher between two of them. The first one is Chernobyl. So the Doctor faces off against a radioactive entity caused by that disaster. And then the other one is something that's slightly darker, but because of like the recent influx in sort of media covering it, like films and stuff, like Matt Smith is going to be starring in a film about it, like 60s Los Angeles with the Manson murders. You could like sort of, even though it'd be maybe a bit too dark for Doctor Who, you could interplay into it like the drugs aspect of it, like maybe there's a narcotic going around that an alien has produced that causes people to go mental into murderers sort of thing, like under the influence of them aliens, which is kind of classic Doctor Who, I guess. Like there has been times when people have been influenced by another force to do acts of great evil. So yeah, that's my pick 3.
All righty. Let's move up the Doctor Who commentator.
First, I'm going to say to Connor, I'm pretty sure the Doctor has actually mentioned being near Chernobyl before anyway, so it's probably up. But nonetheless, my pick 3 gone written down here. Annoyingly, Connor's stolen one of them, which is the space race, although thinking less of Apollo 11, I'm thinking wider of the greatest space race in general. I'm not great with coming up with plots or ideas, but I did have this concept of concept, my favorite word here. We've already seen in Attack of the Cybermen, it's kind of retreading Attack of the Cybermen, but we've seen that in Attack of the Cybermen, they'd stolen a time machine to affect their own history. I was thinking more again, what if they tried to affect history in a way that prevented both the Americans and the Russians in their space race, and in that situation, that means none of them would have been able to provide a moon base at that point. So, yeah, that was my first one. My second one is the excavation of Tutankhamun, which I'm not sure Doctor Who's done before. Well, I haven't really listened to Big Finish, so maybe it's a bit fish. But like I said, the excavation of Tutankhamun, because that was something that did intrigue me when I was a kid, and it's a very convenient way to bring those irons back, if anything else. And my third one, I'll be amazed if anyone gets this, simply because of my love of Japanese media. I thought, what if a story set in the Edo period? Not feudal Japan. That's just something Westerners say. It's not feudal. It's called the Edo period, because the Edo period was certainly a beautiful area of Japanese history. A lot of great art came out of that, and there were some significant historical figures at that time. For instance, there could be a story about meeting Musashi, who was I say a very prominent figure. He was a Ronin, which is a samurai without a master. He was the master of 2 swords. He was a philosopher. He was undefeated in 61 duels, and he wrote a book called The Book of the 5 Rings. But that's just only one of many historical figures. They could look at Ryoma, Benkai, Himiko, and Goemon. And for all the tokusatsu astute out there, yes, I did just simply lift the transformations from Kamen Rider Ghost. I had to put some historical figures in there somehow.
Moving along, let's go over to William.
Hey now, everybody. Picking on these historical characters. Remember, we is picking who we think who the Doctor should meet. Now, whether it would appear on TV or maybe they could use it for Big Finish is up to them. So my first choice is, I apologize if I'm saying the name wrong, but I'm not very good. It's Ma'akari Hashford. She was the second female ruler of Egypt, and she ruled for many years. So that'd be a good story for the Doctor to meet this person. And again, you could have this story cross over with the Osirians, but probably that, in sort of ways. So that'd be an interesting story that could come out of it. My second choice is in a way that the Doctor is involved with the Man in the Iron Mask. I remember, I think Phil once told me there was a book about it called the First Doctor, using part of that thing like that. But in this one, we could either instead of it being like a twin of the king like that, you could either have it like say you could either have it the monk that he knows too much information, that's why he's wearing the mask, but he don't say nothing, or you could even say it's a robot that the Doctor disguised as human, like either like I say a Cyberman or maybe one of the Western warrior robot that he has to disguise it for a while before he could take it away out of the earth. So that's why that story or myth of the Man in the Iron Mask was created. So that, and then my final choice, I would like to see this done in Big Finish, but I don't think it can be done in TV. That he is the creator or co-creator of the 7 ancient wonders of the world. And of course, a lot of people don't know, forgot them. Like, of course, everybody knows the Pyramid of Giza, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Temple of Artemis, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, the mausoleum of, I can't say it, Halicarnassus, the Colossus of Rhodes, and the Lighthouse of Alexandria. And in a way, even though they were all made in different years like that, 3 of them was destroyed by earthquakes. So a good story could be that because an enemy of his did not like what he's been doing, they decided to destroy his creations. So that'll be interesting to see that, considering the only one that still exists is the pyramids. So that'll be a interesting conception. But I feel, in my opinion, that this is better done in Big Finish because there's a lot of things. It might be a long story for this one.
All righty. Okay, Beefhead, go ahead.
I'm a little bit embarrassed. I think I might have gone a bit over the top with my preparations. I thought it might be best to bring back a favourite with a few people, which was the beef board, because it was used last year. So I'll go through them. I've been consulting, like I say, with many historians, librarians in the beef history archives and everything like that to try and come up with some ideas. So I'll do the best, and hopefully you can see the points that I'm trying to make. So, yeah. For no other reason than the Doctor loves a mystery. My first choice is going to take us to Russia. It's the home of your great and glorious leader. It's the happiest place on earth. It's a world of laughter. It's a world of tears. Otherwise, we will shoot you. And more specifically, it's Siberia. It's got a 1-star rating on TripAdvisor from Clive in Hull. I lost 3 toes to frostbite, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. So, more specifically, in the Tugunsta River area, on the 30th of June in 1908, an unexplained explosion occurred, levelling 770 square miles of forest. With no apparent reason why. Going by the calculations, the strength of the explosion was about 1,000 times as strong as the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. No one has a reason for it. There was an earthquake measuring 5 on the Richter scale, or basically the same level as Graham has as a headache after he's been on the sauce for the night. Eyewitnesses say that they were thrown off their feet. And all the windows in the local area were broken. And even as late as now, basically, where it happened, that even no trees would grow. So there's a reason for having something like this. I mean, Yeah, to give you an idea, here's a photo representation of what the actual remaining crater looks like now. No trees, nothing grows there apart from grass, and like I say, it's an amazing mystery. So that was my first choice. My second choice, it runs on a little bit, so let's get the preps ready for that one. It's the second one. It involves the royal family. Give me a second. Yeah. Right, so the second one involves the royal family, and don't worry, it's not this one. Hashtag Windsor so white, because anyway, my friend Billy the Ginger, he's now got a sister represent. What it is it represents the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha family, or more specifically, Tsar Nicholas II. That's George V, King of England, next to Tsar Nicholas, while they were attending a village people convention in the early 1900s. And around the early part of the century in Russia, there was that's it. We're actually going back to Russia again. And we all remember Russia, Patriot Park, come for the free ammo, stay for the heavy ordnance. The kids will love the tanks. And then after that, you have basically a revolution. And there was one main villain in that revolution. It wasn't our good friend Rasputin. It was this fella. Lenin. He was the earliest Russian Avenger, and like I say, he was spared by Thanos, and as we all know, that's all still very raw. But mine is to do with a certain person, which is this. Princess Anastasia. After the revolution, all the royal family were herded towards the Winter Palace and summarily executed by the Bolsheviks. My idea would be the Doctor just, being a fan of history, following that, can't bear to see the tragedy and everything like that, and decides to actually save Anastasia and take her off with her as a companion. She became an urban legend because there were many people over the years who claimed to be here and everything like that. So the idea of the Doctor taking her away as well, to be a companion, would be a great thing, because she could appear in different points in history. The peace accord now in Korea. The solar eclipse at the White House, and then obviously the last one in Tubbyland as well. She would appear everywhere. And then my last one follows along with the Doctor's love of music, really. And nothing else really sort of embodies that more than the end of the 60s. I think in New York in the late 60s, in August 1969, was Woodstock. And, in Woodstock, you had... It was a time of change. It was a time of, flower power, free love, no shirts, make love, not war. But most importantly, it really was a time for powerful drugs. Powerful, mind-altering, chemically induced drugs, where even ugly people like Graham, could get laid. And that's the thing that would be quite interesting, to be honest with you. You had this amazing festival of art and music that attracted such greats like Ravi Shankar, the Grateful Dead, Janis Joplin, The Who, a very sweaty Joe Cocker. And culminating with what they say is a quintessential point in music, which is Jimi Hendrix. Peter Capaldi said he was a big fan of Jimi Hendrix, and his rendition of the Star Spangled Banner, to be honest with you. So I think that would be a great thing to see the Doctors fighting the Squares, trying to stop the people playing their music. Or if you wanted to give it a science fiction accent, you could perhaps have maybe an addition of mandrills to the thing as well, because like I say, drugs were such a prevalent thing. So my two choices are based in Russia, apart from the last one, which is based in America, and those are my three events in history.
Hashtag Graham get some. Oh, okay. Let's move up to AJ.
All right, mine are pretty naff compared to the rest of yours, but anyway, I'll start at the worst one. The Doctor is challenged by his companions or her companions that King Arthur was a real person, and they insist that no, really wasn't. So they go back in time, the whole, like the episode with Robin Hood, basically to find out King Arthur was real. The second one is about the first fleet for Australia. After Australia was discovered by Captain Cook, the first fleet was sent out to populate it with the convicts. So the Doctor and the companions arrive on the first fleet, and the Doctor basically tells him, look, basically, you're being challenged by the French. The French are on the way. They're right behind you. Get your ass moving because we're coming for you. It's basically for the creation of the nation and history itself, keep history online. The third one is Roanoke, where the Doctor lands in Roanoke, finds out the entire population has been slaughtered, absolutely furious, goes back to the TARDIS, goes back in increments of time to find out what happened, who did it. Turns out it was an angry Native American tribe. So he or she, the Doctor that is, goes back and tells them, look, you got to get out of here. Go, run. They're coming for you. And if you don't get out of here, you're all going to be slaughtered. Trying to keep the timeline in order. And eventually they leave, and to keep history in order, they write the word Croatoan on the tree that was found to make sure, that's where they went. They went to Croatoan Island with the Croatoan Indians, and I'm saying Croatoan a lot. And yeah, basically that's my three. I mean, they're pretty bad. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. All right, Philip.
Well, first things first, Beef, do I look like a mandrill to you? But anyway, thank you very much. My first pick three is, of course, the Hindenburg disaster. So basically what happens here is the TARDIS lands on the airship nearing its journey's end, right? Where Graham realises where they are and decides he wants to try and save all the people, begging the Doctor to bring all the people on board in the TARDIS. The Doctor says she can't do that, it's a fixed point. And so what we have is Graham not heeding their words and trying to get people to be safe, trying to get people safe. And one of the crew happens to be in the underbelly of the ship, having a fag. He tosses away his match, and that's where the fire starts and the explosion starts. And as the fire is raging, the Doctor says, we've got to go, we can't save anybody. And Graham decides to follow her lead. And from that point on, he just trusts her and becomes a bit of an enemy of her. And that's why he's a bit pissed off with her. In front of some good story, because she could have saved them. My second one is Amelia Earhart, the mystery of why she disappeared or where she disappeared to. The TARDIS crew are discussing mysteries and what they want to solve. And so the girl that says who plays Mandip, that one, she decides she wants to know what happened to Amelia Earhart. They go to that point in time. They follow the aircraft via the TARDIS invisibly. The craft actually gets sucked into some sort of magnetic storm. The TARDIS can't go through it because of the electrical influx of it. So she is left for lost, and that's how the story really ends up, to be honest. My third one is the Roswell incident of 1947. That comes by to the fact that the TARDIS and the spaceship collide in space. Both ship and TARDIS lands in New Mexico. Military soldiers come and find it and find her. Find the TARDIS crew unconscious. They collect them. They obviously what's the word? What's that word when they dissect all the aliens and stuff?
Autopsy.
Yeah, autopsy on the aliens. The Doctor and crew are faced with autopsy as well. But the Doctor is trying to convince them that she's not alien. And they try to escape. Then one medical man decides to help them escape, and they leave Roswell with the story intact as it was, as we know in history. Basically that.
All right, that's a good one. Yeah, the Roswell incident. Yeah, of 1947, by the way. Yeah. So yeah, I was shocked nobody else picked that one, because that's a very, very intriguing story. That's caused a lot of speculation and a lot of, different things come out of it. A lot of people say it's an urban legend, but the thing is, though, you go research it, there was a lot of weird stuff going on that to this day remains unexplained. So it's a good incident, to cover. Okay, just to throw you just a few of mine. Matter of fact, no, wait. First, let me go through Carol Ann's. Now, Carol Ann Swan sent me her. Said she was not able to attend tonight. Now, let me see. I'm going to try to decode Carol Ann here. So, okay. All right. This first one's set in Pompeii. Something's wrong in the universe as always. This time, people who should have been never ended up existing. The newly regenerated doctor discovers that the problem has originated in Pompeii, and it's his or her own fault. And more specifically, to say his fault. No one should have ever survived, but of course he rescued the one family. Now, to make things right, the doctor must prevent her previous self from saving that person and or family who is responsible for her very existence. Remember, we know this led to the doctor taking on that particular face. Now, will she save the many or save herself? Now, of course, here's what's interesting. Number 2, Woodstock. The doctor goes to Woodstock to talk to a very special man to talk him out of retiring, because in order to save rock and roll, he must talk to Jimi Hendrix and to talk him into playing Woodstock, even though knowing that Jimmy will die 1 year later. And number 3, Darwin going to the Galapagos. Humankind's imagination and scientific advancement has stopped. And that is because Darwin never went to the Galapagos and discovered or came up with the theory of evolution. Now, without the conflicts of opinion between evolutionists and creationists, humans have become stagnant. The doctor must help Darwin discover evolution to stop humans from becoming basically boring and insignificant. Now, I had a few ideas, and it was kind of weird because a few of y'all actually hit on them, and one of them, of course, was the Man in the Iron Mask. No, not the movie, but the actual incident, the Man in the Iron Mask, which a lot of people don't realize was actually based off a mystery that to this day remains unsolved in France, because I don't think they're ever able to discover the records saying who this person actually was. But there actually was a man in an iron mask who was locked up in the Bastille, and they have to this day, no one knows who it is. There's 1,000,000,005 stories you can come up with right here, just off who that person was. You can make him alien, you can make him human, or for some reason the doctor has decided to put someone, say, into a witness relocation program by hiding them in France, or maybe they're an alien, that's why they wear the iron mask, to keep their identity concealed. That's just, I had a whole bunch of ideas just to do with that. Okay, then there was also, make sure I've got my things right. Okay, good. The Franklin expedition, where that entire expedition would consisted of 2 ships under the command of a guy named Franklin. I keep forgetting his name. All right, sorry, let me bring up my notes. 2 ships, the Erebus and the Terror, was Franklin's lost expedition, was a British voyage of Arctic exploration led by Captain Sir John Franklin. It departed England in 1845 with 2 ships, the Erebus and the Terror, and they, of course, disappear mysteriously. And the funny thing is, you can tie this to current events because they have found the Erebus and the Terror. They're actually still pretty much intact. I think the Terror is more intact than the Erebus. But just imagine the kind of fun you could have when, say, for some crazy reason, after, you bring it up to modern day, and for some crazy reason, all these frozen guys are getting up and walking around. You could say it's caused by an alien virus, a disturbing evil entity, or wham, bam, and all that. Or you can just go and maybe there was an alternative explanation for why Franklin's expedition failed. You can even go with the whole quote-unquote thing the early years angle, if you want to go that route. And, of course, here's another one, hang on, that I popped up with. I've got quite a few, like the Oak Island Mystery Pit, which started in 1795, where allegedly treasure was buried on Oak Island. They found signs of it, and people are still, matter of fact, there's a guy still digging on it. If you've ever heard a show called The Curse of Oak Island, you can play with the idea of, because according to their thing, it was a very elaborate trap with very elaborate water things where water tunnels flood the thing every time they dig into it to try to get to this treasure. What if there's something buried down there that was not meant to be found? And that's why the treasure, the trap system and all that and the booby traps are so damn elaborate, is because somebody came to Earth to hide something and they want to make damn sure even the native population could get to it. Or if here's other ones, the Mayans, why did they disappear around 1000 AD? We really don't know. All we have are theories such as plague, war, famine. But the problem is we've really not found no signs of that. What if there was another reason why the Mayans all just up and went? Easter Island, of course, has been hinted at in Doctor Who as well. Matter of fact, of course, with the fact that the Moai, the statues, some say they look kind of like that Matt Smith guy. But you could even play on that and say the reason that for some reason the Doctor has to go back to that period. And of course, I threw in for shits and giggles the pyramids. But my original main third choice, here's another one a lot of people do not know about that's been lurking around history, and that is the mysterious Caspar Hauser. And the reason being why, in 1828, the citizens of Nuremberg, Germany, received quite a surprise when they found a teenage boy wandering around town alone and mumbling nonsense. Matter of fact, they almost said he was speaking an unknown language. And all they got from him was, over time, he began to speak a bit more. He was able to write his name, of course, Caspar Hauser, and he was able to say, look, he had been held alone in a cell for an unknown amount of time by an unknown person. Now, the captor provided Hauser with bread, water, blanket, and two toys, two wooden horses, and a dog. And they were never really able to explain just who the hell this person is. Just imagine the kind of fun you could have with that historical basis alone. But also one that kind of got touched on in a way that I really like, because you could put this one in any time period. Matter of fact, if you want to play around, go back to 1945 for the Bermuda Triangle with the mysterious disappearance of Flight 19. Where you could come up with 1,000,005 ways those pilots, mysteriously disappeared. They could have been sucked into an alien vortex. They could have wound up on board an extraterrestrial vessel, or maybe just for some reason those guys had to go. So, like I said, history has got a ton of mysteries that you can play around with, and that's what's so great about just tapping into history itself. You can do pure historicals, or you can involve an alien influence if you like. Because there's a lot of weird deals. Like I said, we've never seen the Doctor go back to, say, ancient China. Because there was a lot of weird shit going on in ancient China. And also, as some of you brought up, we had, like the first female pharaoh. There was also a Hatshepsut, I believe it was. But there was also one other pharaoh that really screwed with everybody, and that was Akhenaten. You could have a lot of fun with that. Matter of fact, you could even play on the fact that maybe Akhenaten was an extraterrestrial because of the way he had himself depicted in his artwork. So a lot of people, the ancient aliens guys are hopping on the fact maybe he wasn't quite all that human. So you could have a lot of fun with that. Maybe there was a little bit of the Osirian lineage lingering around. And maybe Akhenaten had powers that he shouldn't have had. And the Doctor has to step in to interfere, and thus leads to the Akhenaten being deposed. See, like I said, history itself, 1,000,005 possibilities. You don't even have to really leave the planet if you don't want to. Okay, did anyone have any other ideas they haven't touched on, or you want to throw out some more? Okay, William, you already got your hand up. So go ahead.
I had one in which the Doctor created the maze for King Naiman, and then the Minotaur was a Naimon. And then when he left, the king became corrupt, and he was murdering people using the Naiman. So that's why the Doctor came back with a hero to kill the Naiman, which the mythology was created out of.
Yeah, the Minoan civilization, which led to the development of the Minotaur, where they got the basis for the Naiman. And it could be interesting to find out the basis for the Naiman was really the freaking Naiman. Okay, anybody else? Any other ideas you want to throw out?
I was going to put down, one of my original ones was going to put down the crop circles and how that could be some sort of alien sign thing for landing, for an invasion point here and there. So they can sort of like refuel their fleet on that given planet that's got the signs on it. Something like that. Yeah. A bit like the Dominators, basically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, history in itself, like I said, there's a million possibilities you can play around with. There's so many things that went on in our ancient past that we're still trying to unravel now that we really have no idea what the hell is going on. Okay, B-Fed, you had your hand up first, so go ahead.
Yeah, one that when we were, just talking about the things before everything last night. One of the ones was my discarded idea was Anne Frank. To be honest with you, Anne Frank is a very well-known figure in history and everything like that. And I think if you think about things like Vincent and the Doctor and everything like that, there is a tragic end to that story. Now, my theorizing would be that you would have basically an alien refugee or someone, someone stranded on the planet. And they're forced to go into hiding because you had the German forces that were anyone who was different or did not fit within their certain paradigm and everything like that were a target and everything like that. So that alien was being kept and sheltered by the family in the attic. And ultimately, that Anne Frank was captured and she was found that basically she offered herself up for the benefit of actually saving this character. So the Doctor can't, the Doctor really, it's a Doctor Light sort of idea because his involvement plays no real part in this, but there's still a very tragic end that he can't do it because, the ends justify the means. And that was the discarded idea I had as a fourth option.
Okay, Neo?
Well, I'm back in the Greek stuff again, but I'm going to say this. For the female Doctor, sorry, I know the Doctor's the Doctor, but what if she helped bring the Amazons? I know Amazons are probably myth, but what if she helped unify or bring forth the beginning of the Amazons? And also on the flip side, for the Spartans, I don't know if this is true what they do, but you know how the handicap, if any of the Spartans were born and they were handicapped, they would probably leave them on a hill or something like that to fend for themselves. Well, what if the Doctor basically swooped in or saw that happen and he helped one of them form a community for those who have been left for dead? Something like that.
There you go. Yeah, Connor, go ahead. What's your idea?
Nellie Bly. When Jules Verne published Around the World in 80 Days, no one thought it would be possible to do that journey. And she set out to disprove this consensus, and she managed to travel the world in, I think it was 72 days. It's the sort of adventurer that the Doctor would admire, I think, because obviously they're going against the consensus. It's in a time period where it's sort of like, it's a cool bit of history. Like you've got all of the like Industrial Revolution sort of, new inventions and stuff. So I was thinking like a hot air balloon sort of adventure. It'd just be kind of like fantasy-esque. It'd be very Doctor Who-ish, It just seems like a good sort of little-known historical figure that just sort of fits in with the Doctor's range. So yeah,
that would work. Okay, Doctor Commentator, go ahead.
Yeah, just trying to think of any secondary school history that I had. I kept thinking, what about the transition of power between Queen Victoria to Queen Elizabeth? And the reason I said is that one of the main differences between the two, I remember, was Victoria, if anyone remembers their secondary school history, she actually killed Protestants. I mean, that was the thing. She actually had them burnt, I think it was. And one thing I do know is Elizabeth was very different. She actually just simply had the Protestants pay a fine for being Protestants. I don't know what exactly, but maybe the Doctor could observe how this transition was happening, get Elizabeth's attitude of she shouldn't be like her sister or something along those lines. And let's face it, just interesting to have Elizabeth back because, like we know, her and the 10th Doctor, they did have a thing, and so you're having this Doctor like, oh god, her again.
Yeah, let's leave out the more intimate scenes. Okay. All right. Anyone else before we wrap this thing up? Call it a night. All right, Connor, go ahead.
Because they're coming back in December and they're doing a partnership with the BBC, I thought maybe that they could do a ABBA episode, an ABBA comeback. As much as I think that ABBA are greatly outdated, I think that would be just kind of funny to see them just, I don't know, it'd be sort of a funny sort of event in history. And they are a big band, obviously, so it'd be like the Beatles, like meeting the Beatles, I guess, for a generation.
Oh my word!
My head was stuck going sideways. I made myself giddy.
Platform shoes already? Wow.
So, like I said before, history is an amazing playground. We have so many mysteries, so many unexplained things, and also there are so many things going on. It's easy, put the Doctor into them and make one hell of an adventure. So. We covered a lot of great ideas tonight, a lot of great theories, a lot of great stories, and we also covered the fact that Graham could get some in the 60s. Yeah, remember that, everybody. Hashtag Graham gets some. Okay.
As opposed to hashtag is this Philip?
And with that, let's bring this session to a close. But before we do that, let's talk about in 2 weeks' time, because I need a weekend off so I can actually get some sleep. And I don't have to work next Saturday, so All right, so in 2 weeks' time, we're going to reunite for another Pick 3.
Oh, God.
Quiet, you.
Oh, come on, Philip. Get out your pencils and papers and your pens.
Oh, Christ.
And write this down.
I am.
Philip.
I've got to deal with this again?
Yeah, exactly.
No, you might actually enjoy this one, Philip, because I got this idea from somebody on the Dr. Freedom page.
Ooh.
There are currently 97 missing episodes of Doctor Who. I am going to zap you with amazing temporo-spatial powers. And for that one amazing moment, you're going to be in charge of the BBC. And you currently have the budget and the resources to pick any 3 of those serials that are missing and remake them. Now, here's the other part. Here's part 2. Are you going to go animated? Or are you going to assemble a cast and make it live action?
Oh.
And also, if you want to go here, I'm even going to throw this in for another one. If it's a second Doctor episode, pick who you think should play Patrick Troughton.
Oh, cool.
So that's going to be your assignment for 2 weeks from today. So go out, have a little fun. Yeah, run through the missing episode list and, the ones that Philip Morris claims he's found. And have a little fun with it. So until then, everybody, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Look at my bald head and have a great night.
I thought you said look at my balls. I was like, what?
You always do.
Well, goodbye, everyone, and that's a great moment into Philip's psyche there.
Yeah. Stay north. Look at this bald head. No.
I like these Pick 3s.
Yes.